Hello, Sangha. Today is Friday, March 24th, 2017. So this thing, okay, this is the Great Heartland Sangha Daily Liturgy, okay? And if you don't have one of these things, if you send me a note, if you'd like to have one, is that working? There it is, yeah, something like that. We can send you one of these things, okay? And it's something that we do every day. It's expected, hoped that you do it every day. This is this side here too. There's a little dedication kind of deal. Okay, so so how to deal with this? How to work with it? Okay, if you don't have it and you want one, send me a note, and I'll make sure you get one sent to you. We have them at the temple. You can just pick one up there. That's fine. So recently, some conversations have been happening about how to do this thing. And so I'd like to take a little bit of time and just go through it. Not the content of it and the meaning of it and all that. That would be a great workshop. We'll probably end up doing. But just like how the thing works. Okay? So the hope is, and the idea and the practice of this is that any Sangha member who's doing Ango, or really any Sangha member at all, hopefully visitors too, definitely Shoken students, Jukai students, postulants, that this would be sort of a daily intention to keep up with. Now, we always begin with the altar, okay, so that there's a sacred place, a sacred space, an area that's got power to it, that resonates for you. And there's specific ways of setting up the altar. And I've done Abbots addresses in the past about how to do the altar. Maybe I'll find them and put a link to it here also. But you need an altar in place ideally. Now, if you don't have a physical altar, you can always conjure one here, okay? You can just make it imaginatively in your mind, and that's fine. That's totally fine. If you're, say you're on the train ride into the work and your morning commute, say you live a place where that happens, you can sit down there and very discreetly close your eyes and imaginatively create the altar. And the aspects of that are, there's a Buddha, you imagine the Buddha image, right, that works for you. And then right in front of that is water. In front of that is an incense stick that's burning, right? And then you have over here, you have the candle, and then over here you have the flower. And so they're kind of set up like that way, right? And you can imaginatively create that, and then just light the candle, and take some incense, and then you touch it here, imaginatively I'm doing, right? And then you can put it in the incense holder, and then make this way. And you don't even have to do all that stuff. You can actually just sit there with your eyes closed. Everybody else thinks you're just snoozing. But actually, you're making an offering at your altar. See, so that's what you're doing. You're there, you're making the altar offering. See, and it's important then, because that way that's setting up the right intention of the thing. So we always begin with physically expressing or imaginatively creating an offering at the altar. It's my recommendation, okay? And that sets the right mood and the right intention and the right space for the thing. Then we make 3 bows. And again, if you're on the bus, you're not going to drop and do this whole thing. That's fine. You can imaginatively do it. And then if you're at home and you've got a real altar and you have the time, then go ahead and actually do 3 full bows. If that works out, do it that way. Fine. You can also just do 3 abbreviated bows like that way. So, I hope you're getting the point that it's flexible, all right? There's a tune that we play, but you can play it a bunch of different ways here, but there is a tune to be played. You have a special place, an altar. You make the offerings of flower, incense, candlelight, water, Buddha image, give away, and then you make bows mentally or just gesture or the full thing, fine. And that is getting things ready. Then if you are someone for whom the Kesa is a part of your life, then, or the Raksu, I should say, then what I would recommend is that you do the verse of the Kesa right then. So, and that's on the back of this thing. Vast, or towards the end, yeah, vast is the robe of liberation, the formless field of benefaction, where the Tathagata's teaching, saving all sentient beings. And I recommend you do that in the front, because you get the skillful means of having the Raksu on while you practice, if you can do that physically, okay? So, altar, 3 bows, verse of the Kesa, Raksu. Fine. Then, again, just to say it, you can do the full thing and chant it. You can, if you're alone, you can just recite it silently or aloud. You can just recite the thing. Either way is fine. Or if you're in a public space or something like that, you can just do it with your eyes closed and just do it internally. No worries. Totally fine. Do it imaginatively. Then now we go on to refuge. Okay? Now, it's a simple enough thing to just recite it. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and so on. You just kind of say it, right? And ideally, you don't just mumble it through and get right through it, but you don't have to linger over every syllable either, okay? So you can just say the thing and kind of get in touch with it. Because again, these teachings are here for a very specific reason, to kind of set everything correct, right? Good for practice. So then get in tune with refuge. Get in tune with refuge. Get in tune with the Bodhisattva vow. Recite it 3 times. Then we have the invocation. I give thanks for the guidance of my teachers, the lineage of teachers before them, yada, okay? And you just recite that. So we've set up the space. We've got the kesa, the raksu going. And then we're taking refuge. And then we're thanking for the lineage of teachers and ancestors, keeping our own teachers in mind, important. And actually sending some help to the teachers. God knows I sure need it. Please do. Thank you. Please do, right? Send the intention that my vows might be completely fulfilled. That's all I ask. But that's what's on the plate, right? And then the 7 practices. Bow down in body, speech, and mind, offer the best I have to give, and so on. And you just say it. Okay? You just say it. Just read it. Then we go into metta, generating love and compassion. May all sentient beings be free from obsession and hatred, being close to some and distant from others, how wonderful it would be, etc. And of course, this is all printed out right here. Right? So you just read it down. Again, try to connect with it as you read it. And then the Heart Sutra is there. Okay? Like that. And then now, okay, you don't have to, you may choose, and I like to do this when I can. I've got a simple little motok there, a mukugyo, bok, 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 a little woodfish bonker, bok, 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 bok. And then I got a bell, boing, so bok, bok, boing, boing, bok, 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 bok. You can do all that stuff, and you can chant it, avalokite, bok, bok, boing. You can do all that stuff if you want, if it's helpful for you. It's cool, I like it. I like robes and bells and incense and chanting and all that stuff. And I don't always have time to do that, right? So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just read the thing. Again, you can just recite it. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, practicing deep prajna, paramita, clearly saw that all 5 skandhas are empty, transforming all suffering into distress. Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form, etc., etc., etc. And you kind of run it down and touch it. See, again, what we're doing is we're getting these things in the mind stream and just touching them, touching in with them. The gate or the dharani, the chant at the bottom here, the mantra it said, gate gate para gate parsam gate bodhisvaha. Now you don't always have to sing it, gate gate para gate parsam gate bodhisvaha. You can do that, or you can just say it. Gate gate para gate parsam gate bodhisvaha, gate gate para gate parsam gate bodhisvaha. Or you can be very silent about it, okay? Doesn't matter. In a way, it doesn't matter. What matters is your intention is there, and your awareness is there, and you're in it. So you become it, be it. That's what does matter. Do it 3 times, do it 21 times, do it 108 times, do it all day. It's up to you. Now, you get to the dedication on the back. This is very important. Okay, this dedication's a big deal. It's a big deal. There it is, being big. Big deal. Okay, so the dedication is, especially this business, well, let's set it up. Infinite realms of light and dark convey the Buddha mind. All that is and we ourselves come forth in perfect harmony. Now, in this case, the pronoun is singular because this is assuming that it's you alone at home doing your daily liturgy or wherever you are. So I, in that case, offer this sincere and devoted practice for the many beings of the 6 worlds, different forms of suffering, dedicated and grateful thanks, etc. Okay, and then this is very significant here. I especially dedicate this offering to those whose names I now voice aloud. Okay, and you can also have silence of your heart here if you're on the bus. Fine, fine. But here is the place where you really want to take into account the people that you wish well for, which should be everybody, but it is everybody, and also there's some particulars. You know, if someone in the sangha has reached out and said, "Look, you know, my dear one is in trouble, and please keep us in your intentions." Here, okay. I'm going through a rough time. Keep me in mind. Here, okay. It can also be celebrating joys. You know, it doesn't always have to be some sad thing. It can be you call to mind some great success that someone has had. You know, maybe you noticed recently that I don't know, Isabella and I had a happy moment. We played a tune that we wrote together for a concert here at the UT, and it went super well. I'm just happy about it. So you can actually call that to mind and take joy in that joy and amplify the joy and share it. See, so it doesn't all have to be sorrowful things. It can be joyful things. But I keep a very specific list of intentions. Okay, as you might suspect, a lot of folks ask me to keep them in my practice, in their awareness. I'm happy to do that. It's an honor and a privilege, and I do it very seriously. And I've got a book. It looks kind of like this. It's one of these kind of things, a Moleskine, however you say it. I said, just write everything in there, and I keep in touch with those intentions. And you can do that too. And that can be super quick, you know, or it can be a long process. It's scalable according to your time, see. But that's important. And you really do want to dedicate the offering and dedicate the service that you've done and dedicate it to those directions. Now, what does that do? The very least thing it does is it affects your alignment and your heart that day, that moment. That's the very ground minimum that happens. You're in a good headspace, okay, a better headspace, and you've taken care of your friends. You've thought, you've called to mind. You are hearing the sufferings of the world, and you're not turning away. And in many situations, frankly, we're helpless. There's nothing we can do about a certain situation, but at least we can acknowledge it and wish it well, and then we've done something. Okay, we've done some kind of acknowledgement here. Up from there, it can go. You know, the possibility of it actually having real influence and real effect could be. Sometimes it definitely is. Sometimes it's very subtle. Who wants to say for sure? I don't. But definitely, the bottom line is it affects my heart when I do this stuff. And then I like the these are received and subtly answered bit here. So then we go on with the intention. All Buddhas throughout space and time, calling all them to be witness to this. Then again, 3 bows. It can be simple, right? It can just be seated, just where you are, and that's fine. See, and then ideally you move into zazen. Now, honestly, for me, if I'm seriously like on the short rows here, I can get that whole thing done in 5 minutes without any trouble. All right. I can also take a half hour and linger and enjoy it if I have the time to do that. I like spending time in it when I can. Not every day do I, though. All right. So it's scalable, right? Then the sitting, here's where you would insert some zazen. Okay, you've set the intention, you've got the raksu going, or you have the intention for that. If you're a shoken student and you can practice with your robe, totally do that. Have the robe on, wear it. It's good for you. Okay. Yeah, take refuge, etc. All the things we just went through, and now you're kind of situated now, and then go ahead and sit. Okay, so boom. The main case is upon you, the zazen, which is the great teacher, the great universal solve and balm for everything. Okay, and then okay, so if I can do the liturgy in 5 minutes minimum, then I would like to sit for 5 minutes at least. That's good. Okay, if you're at all serious about this. Oh, you're definitely sitting for 5 minutes a day, every day, like you brush your teeth every day, no matter what, okay? If you can sit more, do it, all right? But at a minimum, sit for 5. And okay, fine, if you can't sit for 5, sit for a breath anyway, all right? But get real, sit for 5 minutes, fine. Then you can do academic study or contemplative study, all right? They're not the same thing. This Ango in particular, we've got this business of Master Dogen's Zenki there, Dogen, called The Whole Works, a great fascicle from the Shobogenzo. And we have here, a number of different translations of the different paragraphs, and they're great. I mean, all the different translations bring out different aspects of it. And so you've done your liturgy, you've done your zazen. If you want to do some contemplative study, what that means, academic study, I think we all kind of know. Learn it, fine. Contemplative study is not about learning it or figuring it out. It's about being with the material, okay, hanging out with the material in a contemplative space. So what that might look like, okay, is you might graze through this or whatever text is relevant. Again, if you don't have one of these and you're an ongoing participant or a Sangha member, you'd like one, send me a note, we'll get you one. But it can be any relevant Dharma teaching. But you kind of scan over the thing and you let a phrase kind of jump out at you. You let something, like here. Thus there is being free of birth and death and being soaked in birth and death. Great translation by Hoshin Roshi and Dainin Roshi. Thus there is being free of birth and death and being soaked in birth and death. So for contemplative study, that's plenty, okay? What is it to be soaked in life? And what is it to be free of life? And here you can let your imagination go and be with it. Maybe you kind of look out the window a little bit and you just be with this. It's poetic, it's art now, okay? It's not Vulcan, you're not like studying it and getting it right. You're just you're contemplatively being with the text and let it speak to you. You can imaginatively engage the text. You can ruminate and muse, and journaling is awesome, okay? If you've got like a little Jakai journal or a student journal, spiritual journal, something like this, perfect, Write that phrase down and just free associate what comes to mind. What does it mean to you? How do you see it today, right? Don't worry about getting it canonically yes and orthodox correct. Forget that. Just what does it speak to you right now? And let it reveal itself to you and be in relationship with that little chunk, okay? Now, I learned this, it's called Lectio Divina, and I learned this from my Catholic monastic experience, okay? When I would go there a long time ago, the Benedictines have, and the Cistercians also have this practice called Lectio Divina, which means divine reading. And this is their main gig, really, besides chanting the Psalter, the Psalms. But then, they'll take some chunk of relevant nourishment and just contemplatively be with that text. And I do that a ton. And I have done that a lot and a ton. And that's not the same thing as koan introspection. That's not the same thing as academic study. It's contemplative being with the material and letting it seep with you and be with you and think about it and imaginatively play with it. And then, insights come and realizations come, and maybe just hanging out with no insight, that's a good call too. Okay? So again, maybe 5 minutes. So in this kind of setting, liturgy for 5, sitting for 5, a little contemplative study for 5, good. If you can do more of one of those, all the better. But consistency is a big deal. Okay? And to say it clearly, the study at the end, it could be academic study. For example, the postulants have got a lot of academic study they've got to get together, okay? And I expect them to read it and study it and know it in an academic sense. Like, what does the material say? Bing, bing, bing. And understand the material in its own context. And that's its own thing. You can take the same material and do contemplative study with it, completely different. Okay? So hopefully that's useful. And that it is something that it helps to guide, your experience of the daily liturgy that we do. Yeah, I think that's what I have to say about it. So questions, bring them on about this, but take it up and start to practice with it, because this is a really foundational practice for you, for me, and for the Sangha. And to say it clearly, when you learn how to do this and you learn how to take care of yourself this way, this is, in my opinion, the spiritual equivalent of taking care of your health and paying attention to your relationships and making sure your checking account is reasonable enough. Paying attention to these areas of your life. This is one of them, and this stuff matters. So take it up, enjoy the practice, and then next time we'll continue on with our discussion of these 5 hindrances, okay? Now, for announcements, it turns out that tomorrow is Saturday, and in the morning we've got an Aikido for everybody. It's called, I think, Zen in Motion is the name I kind of came up with. Aikido for everybody. And so the morning Aikido class is from 9 until 11. And that one's specifically set aside to be accessible to everybody as an introduction and an accessible way to see something about how my experience of study of Aikido has influenced my experience with Zen, and for the purpose of edification for everybody, and then also some encouragement. Frankly, I think a lot of the Zen community would do well to practice Aikido, and then frankly, a lot of folks in the Zen community wouldn't be the right thing for them to practice Aikido. But some body practice, maybe yoga, which is fantastic, or maybe Tai Chi, or maybe running, or whatever it is. But I hope to give you some insight about how I use the body training as part of the Dharma training, okay? And then we have a class at 2, I think it is. Is it at 2? No one's here to tell me. It's either at 2 or 3. Let me check really quick. Yeah, it's at 2. It actually is at 2. So it's from 2 to 5. It's an Ango teaching class about equanimity, and the meaning of equanimity, and the training of equanimity, and its role in the Dharma and everything, and in your practice. So that's from 2 to 5. And then in the evening, there's a family support circle book club meeting, and I think that's later in the evening for those folks. So a big day tomorrow. Hope your Ango is doing well. Please keep your practice strong, and let's get those daily home liturgies going. Thank you, everybody.